A thriving Thursday to you. It's Thursday, which everyone knows means the return of the Bonnet Brothers. I'm Marsh, joined by my brother in crime, Rick Blaze. Morning, Rick. How are we feeling?
Hey, put those goddamn bunnies in the air like you just don't care. It's Thursday and it's bunnies everywhere. I did
Dude,
it on the fly, by the way, Marsh. Just
I
now.
couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. I would have thought you wrote that. I'm not even
You
gonna
know
lie.
what? You're a mensch.
Well, we had a lot of activity. I don't know what the last word you said was, so I'm just gonna keep rolling with it.
You
We
don't know what a
had
mensch is? That's
a
a high
mensch.
compliment.
I thought you said a mensch. I was like, I don't know why you calling me a mensch on this Thursday. So I apologize.
I don't know
Uh,
what a mensch is.
Me neither. That's why you can see my
Oh,
confusion.
let's
No
continue.
confusion in the SWBA, where the Boston Celtics have finally put the Miami Heat out of their misery with a game that was over within about 8 minutes of action on Wednesday night. A huge game and an efficient game from Jaylen Brown to kick things off, but the Heat are going home. The Celtics are moving on. They await the winner of Cavs Magic. Your takeaway, Rick, in the one first round series that had no intrigue whatsoever.
I mean, about time. I mean, we really expected a sweep, right? It became a gentleman's sweep. Miami came in to show some heart, like a Miami team would, a Coach Spoelstra team would, a Pat Riley team would. Came and showed some heart and make sure they didn't get swept. But everyone saw this coming. Their writing was on the wall as soon as Jimmy Butler got hurt. They didn't have that great of a fighter's chance, even with Jimmy Butler, because the Celtics team has great expectations and they're a pretty stacked team. So they took care of business at home as they should. Now they get the rest up. It's playoff time, so you really don't know if players like to rest or just kind of keep rolling when they're rolling. But they await the winner of the other round and matchup. But business as usual for Celtics. We didn't come to see the Celtics in the first round. We came to see Celtics in the Eastern Conference Championship to see what they got and to see them if they can make it and they can win in the finals. We totally expect for them to blow past this first round.
Well, Jaylen Brown looked good, and that's, I think, was a big part of this series, was getting Jaylen Brown in activity. He was good for many parts of their finals run in 22, but kind of faded there, like most of this roster did. But I think you're right that this was a series that they were going to win. There wasn't much question to it. Where I think it was important was to exercise any type of demons that the Miami Heat have provided Boston over the last 5-ish years. Now, that even extends all the way back to the LeBron James era, where the Heat just always seem to have they're the Celtics boogeyman. So to get this one out, and here's the thing: the Celtics have been emphatically kicking the tails of every single team in the SWBA all season long, and through fault of their own, in which they were too good too early on in the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown era, we've come to expect these types of collapses. But if you look at Tatum's 25, 26 years old, I'll inevitably bring up the Warriors. Golden State didn't win their first championship until Steph was 26. So if you look at the timeline in which the Celtics should really be competing, because the East was terrible, because they had good coaching with Brad Stevens, and because they just have good basketball players, they've been winning much earlier than we expect. This is just, I think, going to be the first mark in what could be a very dangerous run through an Eastern Conference, their second round matchup shouldn't concern you, either the Cavs or the Magic.
I mean, not really. Neither one of them. I think the Magic's probably going to pull this one out. But just to go back to the Boston point a little bit, the biggest difference is between your Warriors you mentioned and this Celtics teams is the Warriors at the time didn't have guys making $50 million on the squad. See, once that money comes into play, all that we're gonna wait and see window is out the
Mm-hmm.
window.
Yep.
Because because of the money, because of the way the NBA is set up now, that window has shortened drastically because you have two guys who makes a lot of money who's holding the franchise hostage. So
Uh,
I think the Celtics goes against Magic. I think Magic offers a little bit of a problem for them because of athleticism and youth, but I expect them to win that series as well.
it's a great point. They definitely have higher expectations with the dollar amounts on it. What we had higher expectations for, but they continue to always fall flat. Mavs Clippers. Clippers get obliterated at home by Dallas. Uh, this has just been one of those series where it is difficult to get a read. I would have expected without Kawhi the Mavs to win this series, but the way the Clippers have played at home has been Katy Perry hot and cold. And last night, no difference on that as Dallas just gets off the jump and absolutely destroys a team, again missing their star player.
Hey, they played so bad. We actually had a PJ Tucker signing for the Clippers. I forgot he was on the team. Coach was like, "Yo, let's PJ in. It can't get no worse." Look, everybody was on this whole high a few days ago by James Harden. Y'all just wait. He is the epitome. You talk about Katy Perry hot and cold. You just wait till the game really means something, and you see the James Harden that I've come to know for the last decade. The Mavs are simply not the Clippers. They simply don't have the players the Clippers have. I expect the Mavs to win this series because one of their best players for the Clippers happens to be James Harden, and they rely on James Harden to win games for them. And if you have to rely on James Harden to win games for you, I'm sorry. When it's time to get the money, he's not going to cash you out.
When it's James Harden and Paul George as your second guy. I mean,
I don't know.
whatever.
I don't feel the same way exactly about Paul George,
but he doesn't have
Harden, for sure.
Drama. He doesn't have the dramatic, this is a burst into flames type of James Harden flameouts. But he just has Paul George. I mean, we're paying you a lot to the money point. We're paying you a lot of money, and this is what we're getting. Like playoff P. Where the heck is this guy? Like you'd expect. If you go back on the Paul George trajectory, right? Back to those Indiana Pacers days where they were up 2-1 on the Miami Heat. You're like, man, this is going to be a future. It kind of just feels like we've been left wanting a little bit more from Paul George.
Yeah, people don't really call it out, but I don't disagree. But let's keep in mind he did have a major injury between that time. He's not the same exact Paul George to be exactly. He's not the same exact Paul George.
You would think mentally the ability to just be like, hey, I'm going to lock in wouldn't be lost on a leg injury. You're right, a drastic injury, but he has huge games. It's not like this guy went from averaging 25 to averaging 15, and now we're like, man, I wonder why he's not back. Like, he's still an all-star, fringe all-NBA guy who played really well in his final season when he was with Oklahoma City, and then was supposed to be the second piece next to Kawhi. You're not wrong. Big injury, but like at the same time, it's not like he'd be turned into PJ Tucker. Moving to SimWorld Prep, our game of the week was promising of a doozy. Cascadia made sure it wasn't. The offense for Cascadia, absolutely dominant last night. Tough first quarter. They rallied back and dominated from then on out. Big night from Jason Holbrook with the double-double. Cascadia, they aren't in the Founders region, but they continue to be a dangerous team, especially now under new coach Braden Berry.
It was a good game for about 2.5 quarters. Rocky Mountain came out with a lot of energy at home. I thought they had a chance. They had a chance. They had a chance, but with Cascadia in the offense, it was kind of like Nova game. You just give it time and it start kicking in, and that's what happened. So by the time the end of third quarter came, it started pulling away, and by the time fourth quarter came, they was like punchos waving the flag because it was all she wrote. Holbrook had a really good game. Kevon Jackson, the dunk guard, had a really solid game. The ultimate driving machine had a really good game. Those big three for Cascadia came up big on that night. And if you're Rocky Mountain, I think there's some questions you need to ask yourself going into the tournament. Again, I think they competed. Their defense was a lot better, and I said this on air during the call. If they can bring that defense, now their defense didn't sustain for 4 quarters. For about 2.5 quarters, they had a really good defense. If they can keep that defense and get a little bit of change, a little bit with the offense, a little bit of flow, I think they can be something because they have the talent. But last night, Cascadia, baby, just rained down on them. It was just too much, way too much.
It always goes back to the Rocky Mountain defense because their offense is pretty good. I mean, Justin Bell's fantastic, top 15, top 10 player in the league. I mean, Lucas Banks, Dink Pate. This is a good offense. Their defense does not always travel, and last night, particularly in the second half, it did not. That is our show, but we're first going to do a SimWorld Prep wrap-up. We'll start in the Atlantis game against Run DMV. Bjarni Johnson, this kid continues to cook. 37 and 4. Keontae Smith, another big night. 4 blocks again, 13 boards. Atlantis rules 71-62.
Hey, Bjarni Johnson is that guy. He can shoot it. He can fill it up. You better be aware at all times because my man gets it done. Let's go into Philadelphia. It's Illy World and G5. Philadelphia does what Philadelphia been doing. That's beating boys heads in. 82-70. Coach Dree says he's bringing the D to Texas, and he's bringing the D everywhere he goes. D travels, and so Philadelphia gets to win 82-70 against G5.
Monte Parson, 30 points in that. Another 30-point night last night. 34. Andre Ivanov, 34 and 8. 14 and 19. Nice, clean 73.7% from the floor. And Europe survives Lakeshore. The woes for the Chicago squad continue 73-72.
G-Pack, Indy Stripes. No thank you. APAC with the win, 77-72. Total team effort by APAC. These guys will start to gel towards the end of the season, kind of like last year when they went on a run.
And the last one, since we talked about Cascadia, Showtime and Bay Area. 21 points from Kai Newby, 7 assists from Schizo to Kai.
Schizo.
Enough to help Showtime propel past a very depleted roster for Bay Area. The fact that Bay Area is in any of these games, I think is impressive in its own right, but a 63-53 as you get last little highlights from our game last night. The end of that was that Cascadia win with a big night from Arthur Lattimore. That is our Thursday show. We are going to continue to have some activity here coming to you Friday. We've got Gulf Coast Lockdown and AT Aliens at 8 p.m. on SimWorld TV. Heartland Zombie Stars taking on Oceania at 9. We'll recap that. We'll recap what's left of the SWBA playoff campaign. And we'll be back for a nice another Bonnet Brothers Friday. Appreciate y'all joining us. Rick, thanks for coming on board. We will talk to you tomorrow morning here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld Sports.